and welcome to Module 2. I want to start by reviewing a little bit. In the welcome video that was last week in this class, we learned that our behavior is often a product of the society that we live in. This is important. I just want to make sure we remember it. So in that video, we learned that we make individual, private choices just totally on our own without thinking about other people, but somehow those choices end up being part of a pattern. We gave the example of suicide. People think they're making a very private, horrible choice to attempt suicide or to commit suicide. But somehow all these very private choices are showing up in patterns about suicide rates in different states and over time. We also gave the example of sexual partners in Arkansas versus Alaska, that for whatever reason, people in Arkansas are having more sexual partners than people in Alaska, at least among teenagers, at least if they're willing to confess on a survey. And they're having these even though they're not really thinking about the fact that they live in Alaska or that they live in Arkansas. They're thinking about probably having sex, not those things, but somehow they're still behaving in these patterns. So somehow everyone's making just entirely independent decisions without coordinating at all, and yet these patterns persist with higher number of sexual partners here than over here, more suicide in these kinds of places among white men than among Hispanic women. Society is impacting our behavior, and that's weird. Let me give you a different example this week, something a little bit lighter. We're going to talk about TV. So when I'm deciding how much, TV to watch and when to watch it, this is just my choice. It's just, me and my TV. And yet, how much TV we watch as a country is changing in patterns. This pattern is influencing me. It's influencing my behavior, and my behavior is part of this pattern. So let me show you this graph here. This shows the rate of TV viewership over time per family. And so some of what you should notice as you're looking at this graph is that we're watching a lot more of it. And that does seem kind of odd. We think we're making this private choice to do something like watch TV. It feels like a private choice, but somehow all these people making these choices are making the same kinds of changes over time. We are all watching more TV than our parents and grandparents. And by the way, this isn't really the point here, but this should stand out to you that 2017, which is the last year of this, the average American household had the TV on at least 8 hours a day. Holy crap, that is crazy. That's more time than many Americans sleep. This is a huge societal shift that's happened. We are spending significantly more of our free time just watching TV than our grandparents and our parents. So, I feel like I'm in watch TV because I just am in the mood for, Game of Thrones. What I don't realize, if I lived in a different state or, in this case, if I lived in a different time, like 1950, I would be making a different choice. What feels like a free choice, it's actually part of this pattern. So this week, it's going to get even weirder. So just to make sure we're on the same page, we've covered that society is impacting individual behavior. What we're going to talk about this week is something a little more subtle, which is that our behavior is also actually influencing society. And what do I mean by that? So society impacts behavior, and behavior also impacts society. When we make a choice to do something, we change society. We send a message to all of society about that choice. If I get divorced, I make it more acceptable for other people to get divorced. If I attempt suicide, I make it more likely that other people in my sphere of influence will do the same. It's same with all of our choices. If I choose to have 7 children, I'm making it more common in society for people to have 7 children. I am changing society itself. If I choose to identify as biracial rather than Black or Hispanic, which is a societal change we've seen lately, we're making biracial a larger social group in society. If we choose to come out as gay or lesbian, we're changing how sexual orientation is seen in society. These are big examples. Let me give you a really mundane one. I like eating eggs for breakfast. Part of why I like eating eggs for breakfast is because, frankly, society tells me I should like eating eggs for breakfast. That's a normal American breakfast food for people, where I live. I eat eggs partly because society tells me that's a normal thing to do. But also, when I eat eggs for breakfast, I'm sending this message to society, my children, my spouse, to the waiter, to the cooks, whatever, to the person who sees me eating these eggs. I'm sending a message to all those people that eggs are a normal thing to eat for breakfast. I am reinforcing this societal norm by my behavior. I'm actually helping create that as a stronger societal norm by my behavior. So sometimes we think of, society as this static entity. It either is or it isn't. It's a thing that's outside of us. It's just there. But it's not. It's constantly changing, and it's changing because of us. So the choices that we make, like right now today, they aren't just products of society. They actually create society. And this should really make you think about what kind of society you are helping to create. Are you, creating a society where it's okay for people to not wear makeup? Are you creating a society where people are expected to volunteer, or a society where people shouldn't volunteer, or, a society where people are supposed to get married, or one where they're not? What kind of society are you creating? Is it one where we can talk about racial inequality? Is it a more religious society? It's kind of amazing to think about the fact that society is not a static entity. It's changing, and it's changing because of us. We are part of this cycle. Our agency is part of this cycle. We can use our agency to create this society that we want to live in. One of the ways we create that society is by socializing the next generation. So I want to move on to my next topic, which is socialization. First of all, this word doesn't mean what you think it means. So when I say socialization, you're probably thinking of, something like socialize, like, I need some human contact. I need some socialization. But for sociologists, this word has a pretty unique meaning. To socialize someone means to train them in how to sort of function in society. We socialize children in school to become, productive members of the workforce. And we do fire drills to socialize people for how to act in an emergency. My kids watch Frozen 2 all day, and hopefully by doing that, they're being socialized to act in heroic, brave ways. Children are being socialized all day long, both consciously and unconsciously, to behave in ways that society thinks is normal. Now, adults are socialized too, but we don't really talk about that as much unless we're talking about things like prisoners being socialized or converts to religion being socialized. But adults definitely are socialized as well. So in your module lesson this week, you're going to hear from Ms. Linda Brady, one of the other course developer of this class, talk about socialization, not just how we're socialized, but when we're socialized, who is socialized, who does that socialization. I just want to give you a little background. Ms. Brady is one of our, if not the top introduction to sociology instructor at Arkansas State University. So you're very lucky and should feel very honored that she has agreed to do this video for you. You're going to learn all about socialization. And I will see you next week.